Junction, which is a part of South Brunswick District, and I am a parent of 2 children, an 8th grader at Crossroads North Middle School, as well as a 6th grader at Crossroads North. I think you're going to hear a lot of this introduction tonight.
Okay.
You posed a question to us, Commissioner Hespy, after the Jersey City testimony. What is missing from this conversation, and what I have asked from testifiers to address is what they would do to this social problem, where half of the students are graduating without the skills and knowledge they need. I'm going to answer that for you. But before I do, I have to ask, where are you getting this information that half of the students are graduating without schools when you, Governor Christie, and others list New Jersey as one of the top 2 states in the country? When you say half of the students, you're not truly peeling back that proverbial, onion. If you did, you would see that it is not because of unwilling parents, bad teachers, or bad curriculum. It goes much deeper than that. The issues lie in the districts and the states where poverty is the root cause. There's that word that no one wants to address. If you look at the data that educational experts have provided, you will note that it's not comparable. For example, PISA, schools in other areas of the world use PISA, particularly China, look only at students by ability and wealth and mysteriously cluster the best and the brightest into prestigious high schools. Lower performing students end up in programs outside of major Chinese cities or workforce because the Chinese know poverty affects the test scores. The US poverty level is over 21%. However, if you equalized ours to other countries, for example, Finland is at 3.4% and Japan at 14.3%, the US would actually outperform our foreign counterparts. All you have to do is look in our backyards. Let's use my district, South Brunswick, as an example. Our poverty level is approximately 4%. We have over a 98% graduation rate, with students moving into top colleges and universities, moving on to top career schools, where corporations tap them on the shoulder even before the student graduates. Yet no one is willing to step up and admit that the elephant in the room is poverty. Everyone hides from it, and I question why. A standardized test is a point in time. It does not equal skills and knowledge. In fact, this test will produce less information than in-class teacher assessments because by the time they get the test, the children will be in the next grade. Standardized tests in New Jersey were created by the Whitman administration as part of a lawsuit, Abbott versus Burke, over the funding formula. That funding formula that Governor Christie is supposed to fund but has chosen to ignore, where South Brunswick has lost over $13 million each year for the past 2 years, equaling over $26 million. These original tests were given in 4th, 8th, and 11th grade, were created as monitoring devices, not diagnostic learning instruments. In fact, one of the assistant commissioners in charge of testing admitted in 2014 that the NJS and HESPA did not provide useful information to inform teaching or policy making. I've provided that reference for you. Yet New Jersey spends hundreds of millions of dollars off making children take them. Per Professor Christian Kent, Seton Hall University, I quote, "Parents, teachers, and students will not be able to see every question from the PARCC test. The department said it costs prohibitive and can make only some items available. But for a teacher or for a parent or a teacher, some items will only tell some of what is needed. Consider a parent receiving only 20% of the questions home each week from a test and the test grade. Does that inform a parent?" End of quote. I'm going to skip. Skills that were taken away from the classrooms when education reform was put in the hands of big business, which do not know a thing about education, are things like penmanship, spelling, grammar, writing, essential skills that have ceased to be taught to students in order to make way for study island. More district tests, more state tests, more federal tests, and more international tests. Listen. Listen, I'm all for critical thinking, but you're testing children that have not been taught that way of thinking yet. In fact, you're pushing it the wrong way. By forcing teachers to teach to the test, you're ignoring your own proposal that this will get kids to think critically. For example, my daughter came home and had to create a Rube Goldberg invention for science. She had to come up with the idea and test it. This is called an alpha test. She had failed that test. She had to redesign and test again, which we in business call a beta test. She worked on it for 3 days, trying to figure out how to use various forces to make it work. Wind, gravity, electromagnetic fields, etc. And then she had a videotape herself describe the process. This is critical thinking. That is how you engage a child. That is how you let a teacher teach. I understand, and
we have it written, Tony, we're reading it.
And I want the audience to hear it. Thank you.
I understand that.
I understand, but I'm very passionate about, sir, and I have a right to speak my mind. So, to answer your question, what to do to impact this societal problem? It's called best practices. In corporations, we use best practices. We look at many factors, includes what is working, where is it working, why is it working, when it started working, and how can we mirror the process into other districts. We are not Finland, we are not Japan, and we are not China, or should I say Shanghai. We are the United States of America. All we have to do is look into the backyards of communities and engage the right individuals. Engage experts that have studied this issue, that have produced hard evidence through research, experts that have actual advanced degrees in education, experts in districts where it's working, in educational history to ensure we don't make the same mistakes we did in the past. Engage the community where the problems lie. Don't make the same mistakes we did in the past. It is time to stop, admit we are on the wrong path, and turn it around. Anyone in this room or in the state that is voicing their opinion today would not fault you for admitting it's not the right path. In fact, they would cheer you on for coming to the same conclusion that 80% of the United States has come to. And you've heard about the NAEP already. I also just want to point out, when you're sick and you go to the doctor and you get a blood test, this example's been used so many times. The blood test is a sample. They don't take all your blood. That test comes back 3 to 5 years later. 3 to 5 days later. A teacher, in effect, does the same with class assessment. If they don't do well, she or he considers many things that impact that child. Parents get the results back, and they together determine what the problem is. But I know what you're going to say, that all parents are not engaged. And you're right, not all parents are engaged, but maybe it's because of that word, poverty. You've got people that have to worry about putting food on the table. You've got people having to worry about gangs. You have people that are not getting fully funded in their districts. Not everyone was born to be a scientist or a doctor and engineer. The K-12 public education is about giving individuals a foundation to learn about the paths that they can take. Therefore, sadly, results from standardized tests most often tell us more about the family and community economics, outside of the factors outside of the control of schools. Through a series of studies that Dr. Tinkin conducted, he and his colleagues have begun the process of demonstrating the predictive accuracy of family and community demographics. May I ask why Professor Tinkin was not asked to join this commission? As he said, we have the ultimate assessment system already working in our classrooms. It's called the teacher. Let's invest in our teachers the way Finland does. Let's focus on the core issues that would be in districts in poverty. Let's gather the smartest, the brightest educators to come up with the right solution. Let's implement best practices of districts doing it right. Let's use the NAEP as our assessment instead of spending millions of dollars on tests that do not tell us anything new about our children.